Well. A Friday night victory for the Dons. Incredibly satisfying. Victorious by 12 points. Merrett, marvellous. Caldwell, compelling. Shield shines. Caddy, more than competent. Do you want me to keep going?
Yes, please.
Uh,
Come on.
Durham demolishes.
Yeah, good. I like it.
Draper drapes. Okay, I'm running out of
I
steam
think,
very
I think you
quickly.
should stop right there.
But it was
I was
a
really looking forward to Peter Wright.
Oh no, I wouldn't. I don't think I would have one for Peter Wright.
Anyway, let's not
Um,
talk about negatives. Great,
no,
great,
that's
great,
right. A
great.
beautiful victory. Ain't
Beautiful.
nothing more satisfying than a
Thank
Friday
you.
night victory. Nothing
Uh,
more satisfying.
Absolutely. And can I just say to keep the sort of magic on sort of going, I'd like to just make a quick point. Do you know that that was I think it might have been one of the very few games that Essendon has played in the last 12 years, other than in 2016, where there were no survivors of the doping saga. And
No,
I think
I didn't.
Heppel, of course, being the only one left, he's got the bottle of port that will be opened when he finally hangs up the boots.
Right.
And he was being managed, I think the term is. And so that team played without the ghosts of the past. And I think it was symbolic in oh so many ways because
Yeah.
the outcome, I think, was this football club, for the first time in a very, very long time, actually finding its place back in the competition, in the upper echelons, and being quite rightly at home in that space. So well done, Bombers. Great result. I can't think of a better result in recent years.
Yeah, no, you're right. It felt like a game where we're re-establishing our identity, an identity that has been lacking for a long time. We're rebuilding our DNA without being too dramatic about it.
Yeah.
But the one thing concerning me, you're chopping your head off in the shot. Are you trying to? Is this like a Hollywood shot that you're doing?
Right
Uh,
now?
yeah,
No.
you're chopping
That's,
your head. You're maybe move it back a little
I,
bit.
I, I think
Yeah.
you,
Ah,
how's
okay.
that?
All right. Okay, that'll do.
Simon?
Yeah. Yeah. Our
He,
tech guy letting us down. But
he has
yes,
a Turkish
anyway,
parts. Sorry, go on.
it was incredibly satisfying, and especially off of what happened last week, and the way the team performed, and leading up to this game, and what transpired in that first quarter as well. That's what made it, I suppose, even even sweeter.
Yeah. No, look, the lead up to the game was intense for the Bombers. They again coming under the spotlight from the media, from the fans about their credentials as a top four team, as a top eight team,
Yeah.
and the fact that they hadn't beaten any of the teams that were in the top eight during the course of the week. They
Mm.
had beaten, of course, GWS earlier in the year, who were at that time one of the fag
Yeah.
favourites.
Yeah.
But really, I guess the questions were around whether Essendon had a right to be in the position they were, and so the heat was really on this team, and you got the sense the players were even coming out in the media during the week. Caldwell, notably, Langford was on the footy show, the Sunday footy show, all saying that what happened last year was not going to happen again. And you thought, yeah, guys, appreciate the sentiment, but
Mm.
let action speak louder than words. And I
Yeah.
think the start of this kind of rise from the ashes, if we can use that term, I think happened at the selection table. They got the selections wrong against Geelong with
Yeah.
a team that was way too tall for the wet conditions.
It was. It
And
was. It was like Euro 2024. They were kicking it along the ground last
yeah,
week. Yeah.
wrong choice of team, and I think this week they got it right. Why Caddy was dropped in the first instance, I'm not quite sure, but he was rightfully back in the team, and we'll talk about him. And I thought Dylan Shield coming back in was extremely notable for many reasons, and we'll also talk about Dylan Shield and what role he can potentially play as we head towards the finals. So a
Mhm.
much
Yeah.
better balanced team. And I think the way that they're setting up the side with Jones playing further up the ground has been a masterstroke, and certainly that could see Jones taking on a whole new direction in his career. So a lot of pluses going into the game, but
Yeah.
then that first quarter, true to form,
Yeah.
we kind of lost the plot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just seemed like Collingwood just came out with far more energy and life, and we seemed quite a few lengths behind the pace car, and of course you had Crisp running riot, kicking 3 goals. Like what? You had the likes of Pendlebury and Sidebottom dominating. Like what? That just I really get triggered when that happens because they've just done it to us so much in the past, and I even got a text message from someone saying game over, and that didn't thrill me either. Receiving that in that first quarter, I thought it was a tad premature, but it wasn't looking good.
Yeah, look, they were very efficient. First at the ball, they got a lot of clearances out of the centre, and you had a once in a decade performance from Crisp, who kicked 3 goals in in the space of only a few minutes. I always think he's he Crisp or Crips. Like it's one of those names.
Yeah,
Crisp played one of his probably best 5 minutes of football ever. So
yeah.
that was kind of freakish.
Yes, and Collingwood, I think they scored 7 out of their first 8 forward 50 entries as well. So as a team, they were just being highly efficient, and we were not.
No, but I think the good news was, and I always felt watching that first quarter, if we could just get a second goal,
Mm,
this it will change things. And we did. And Stringer popped up to kick a goal right on the siren at the end of the first quarter. And
yeah,
as it turned out, we were only 15 points behind.
yeah,
And we had the equal number of scoring shots. They had 5 goals too. We had 2 goals, 5. So
yeah,
it was kind of like, we're not actually out of this game. They hadn't put us away.
mm,
And thankfully, I think that goal going into quarter time just gave us a bit of hope and
yeah,
would have given the boys a lot of confidence that, look, we can get back into this game, and back into the game they certainly went. And from the second quarter through to the end of the third quarter was an hour of dominance by the Bombers in terms of possession. I mean, on every statistical count, they were well in front of Collingwood through that period. Most
yeah,
importantly, on the scoreboard, where they'd kicked 8 goals to 3 during that really dominant second and third quarter. And whilst
yeah,
they probably hadn't put the game away by the 3/4 time break, they were well on top. So it was a sensational response to the early dominance of Collingwood, led by the skipper, by Captain Fantastic, Zach Merrett.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. He, I think, up to half time, he had 10 scoring involvements, which is a serious stat. And he was just everywhere. Often he'd be just in the last line. Then he'd be down forward. Obviously, kicked that goal early on, where they seem to be only allowing us to mark in that ugly spot near the boundary line, about 45 metres out. And I think Langford had a shot, missed. I think Dersma. Was it Dersma possibly that missed as well? But Merritt nailed it,
Yeah.
and he was really, really leading from the front in this game, and I think proving an inspiration to a lot of the younger players.
Yeah, it was absolutely a great captain's game, and you could see it written all over his face that he was not going to let this game slip. If it took everything in his very essence, his very being,
Mm,
he was going to get
mm,
this team across the line. And it was
yeah,
interesting to see how the other players clearly could see that. They responded to his leadership. And, Merritt now has 6 Brownlow votes against Collingwood this year. He was incredible. And,
if the umpires know what they're doing, but yeah.
I mean, to not give him 3 votes for that game would be a crime against humanity, to be honest.
Well, prepare yourself for a crime
Well,
against
probably.
humanity. All right,
So,
but he plays with this desperation. Like that, isn't that like the difference? And then I think when other players then jump on board, it's all the difference.
yeah.
It's everything. Caldwell does. Yeah, it's incredibly
Yeah,
inspiring.
his defensive play has been a highlight of his season. You know, I mean, he's an
Yeah,
incredibly creative footballer. He reads the play well. He can pick out passes that other people
yeah,
can't see.
yeah,
But you know what's made him so impressive this year has been just the defensive pressure that he applies, his gut running, his two-way running. I mean, his tackling has been fantastic all season. So I think, you know, there's so much to say about Zach. You know, I'm just thrilled for him that he got the win in the end.
yeah,
And you know, because I'm sure, unlike last season, which was so disappointing, if you remember, we when we played Collingwood the second time last year, we lost by nearly 80 points.
yeah,
Uh, it wasn't going to happen this year, and I'm
yeah.
very, very pleased that that was the outcome. So, but you
But
know,
geez, it looked a little concerning. Looked a little like
oh,
it
for
was back
sure, no,
10
no
minutes into
question.
that
I mean,
first
look,
quarter. Yeah,
they're a quality opposition.
yeah,
You can't take them lightly, and they are the reigning premiers. So,
yes,
you know, I think all in all, it was probably the best win that this footy club's had for many years. To be honest with you, I know it's easy to say that. You know, we might come out and beat Melbourne by 100 points next week. You know, and we'll say that was the best win. Who knows? But I think, given the lead up to the game, the questions around the team, the questions around the football club in general, and the fact that, you know, we still have to prove ourselves, and they did it. So I
yeah,
think that will give them so much self-belief going forward in
yeah.
and facing the rest of the season with that inner belief, which the
Mm,
good teams all have. You know, the good teams, including Collingwood, know they can win games from any position.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this time they weren't able to do it. And, you know, we were able to hold on and you know, take a well-deserved 4 points at a critical time of the year. So
yeah.
fantastic result.
Absolutely. I'm as happy as a dog with two tails.
Is that a Tasmanian dog?
Uh,
Two
I think
tails.
it's heads, but anyway,
Oh, okay.
but you are exactly right about belief. That's what Collingwood have, and I think they still had it even in that last quarter. But we will come to that because let's talk about the second quarter. And one of the leading lights was young Nate Caddy doing incredibly well. I thought. What did you think of his performance and where he sits in our forward line, given some other potential problems that still exist there?
Well, I'm going to put it in simple terms
Are you?
for our audience.
And for me, please.
Not for because they need to be simplified, but the next time Nate Caddy won't be fronting up the following week in an Essendon football jumper will be because he's retired. He will play.
Big statement, huge statement.
He will never be dropped again. And this kid has something about him, right? He has an aura. He is clearly a talented footballer, you know, no question, but there is an aura, and you see it in some players. I don't know if people can relate to this, but you just see it in certain players that there's a presence about them on the footy field. He has that, and
Mm,
he's got the skill to go with it. So I think we got a little glimpse of the future. Now he could have some quiet weeks coming up. As a young kid, that's bound to happen. But honestly, look forward to what this boy can do. I think he is going to be an incredible footballer for us.
yeah,
And I hope I'm not going early on it. You know, I have
please
been
don't. Yeah, that's
past.
enough. That's
Yeah,
enough.
I think
Leave
I
it at
said
that.
that about Archie Perkins at the beginning of the year, but
Yes, you did. You did.
I
That's
did.
right. Let's not lump him with too much pressure. But what he's doing is even in pressure situations, he's making it look easy, and I think that's the sign of a good footy player. They just shoot out a handball, take a mark like that mark he took to kick his goal was he made that look easy, but it wasn't. It was like a one-on-one situation, but it was a very awkward ball where he had to stretch back. It was really
Yeah.
nice, really satisfying to watch.
And there was a time, I think it might have even been in the second quarter or third quarter, I can't remember. He was out on the wing, took a mark,
Yeah.
spun around, drilled a pass to somebody
Mm.
40 meters
Hmm.
further down the field, you know. So,
Remember it.
yeah, I mean, he's definitely got a lot of tricks in his kit bag. So we'll see how he goes. I mean, we can't expect him to
Mm.
be the next John Coleman. He's not going to be that. But I think
Mm.
in time he's going to be an incredible asset because he's a difficult player to match up on. He's about 193 centimeters. I think he's around the same height as Kyle Langford, but he
Yeah.
has these extraordinarily long arms. He's got he's got a wingspan like Michael Phelps, the great American swimmer.
Yes.
And whilst he's a little shorter than most key players, he does have these incredibly long arms, and that's difficult. So he's athletic. He's a guy that can take the ball at ground level as much as he can in the air, but
Mm.
certainly his true strength is marking the football. And when he was playing junior footy, that was the common view of Caddy, is that he's an incredible contested mark and he has these amazing set of hands. So
Mm.
something that we desperately need in our forward line is someone who can be a reliable mark. And he could be that person. So let's hope so. But a great effort. But I just want to also quickly, Joe, I just want to throw out some other names that I thought, jumped on the Merrett bandwagon when the things were tough. And
Yes.
it's kind of like, the usual suspects, but Durham and Caldwell. Those
Yes.
Durham, Caldwell, and Merrett are quickly becoming one of the best midfields in the competition. Uh,
Yeah.
I thought Caldwell, again, second week in a row, he had over 30 disposals. He was
Yeah.
fantastic.
It's
But in
beautiful.
in defence too, I think Ridley had another great game. I think Ridley had over
Mm.
500 metres gained for the whole game,
Mm.
close to 30 possessions, if not, maybe it was 25. I can't remember exactly. And
Yeah.
Ben Mackay, who had had a bit of criticism throughout the week, I thought was back to his best. He was very, very good. Took a
He
lot of
was.
crucial marks in defence. And the other guy that is an unheralded name, I think, Jake Kelly, pretty much put Bobby Hill in his back pocket. So I think the
Yeah.
defence did extremely well for the
Yeah, they
Bombers.
did. I mean, their forward line was quiet. The likes of Myercheck as well. So I think we need to give some kudos. But yeah, Jake Kelly doesn't get a huge amount of love, but he's become an incredibly important player. So I
Yes.
reckon a
Yeah.
lock for the
Well, he
team.
didn't play the week before against the Cats. No, no Kelly, no Bombers. Maybe, maybe not.
We'll
That's
say
just,
that about whoever. But how far away is Parish, by the way? Speaking of,
Parrish, I think, is about 4 weeks off.
oh God,
Yeah, he's still a
that's
little way
been
to go, but
all right.
no worries. Get him right. But I think importantly, Dylan Shield. So whilst Parrish is not there, Shield made a return to the senior lineup. I think it was his second game of the year. He only played a few minutes as a sub earlier in the
Yeah,
season, so really it was his first game, and
yeah,
he had a really a lot of impact and had a fantastic last quarter when maybe things were getting a little bit
yeah,
nervy.
yeah,
Dylan Shield had I think 12 possessions in the last quarter at
yeah,
83% efficiency. So uh,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like
because
having
he gets.
it's like having a new player.
Yeah,
It's kind of
it
like
is. It is. It is. And he was such a cool head. He was exactly what we needed in that last quarter. But yeah, he does. I think, as you were alluding to, he does cop a bit of flack for his disposal at times. But no, he was very clean.
it just makes things really interesting because if you've got Parrish coming back at some point, and people seem to forget that Parrish was actually hitting some really good form before he re-injured himself.
Mm,
I think if you've got Parrish and Shield, and if Shield can continue to go along with the form he demonstrated against the Pies, I mean, it really gives us an interesting dynamic, a real depth in our midfield that really
yeah, I agree.
bodes well going forward, I think.
Yeah, exciting, very yeah, very exciting. And I think between the second and third quarter, we really dominated. I think we kicked 8 goals to their 3. The edge, it would seem, was back.
The edge is real. The edge lives in strange, dark corners and comes out to play every now and then. And when it does, beware. It is a weapon that we have, and scientists around the world are trying to understand exactly what is the edge. But the edge
Mm.
made its appearance in that second and third quarter for sure. We dominated every statistic. I mean, look, Collingwood in the end they only lost by 12 points, but honestly, we had them on toast, and
Well, I don't know about toast because I was always worried about the comeback. They got close against the Gold Coast. And when Myercheck was given that mark over the goal line or the behind line, where it probably wasn't a mark, but they went with the umpire's soft call. I just thought, oh, is this the impetus for the comeback? Is this where we get screwed over by the footy gods yet again?
No, look, the well has dried up for Collingwood's freakish get out of jail wins.
I hope
That's
so.
2 weeks in a row now that
I
they have
hope so.
threatened but failed. And, I worry for them. They may not be a finalist
Oh,
this
I
year.
don't think they need you worrying for them, right?
Yeah, they are in some
They
trouble.
can take care of themselves. But it was just a nice weekend. I mean,
It
the
was.
Blues going down against GWS. I mean, that
Yeah,
how unfortunate for them.
tragic for the
Mm,
Blues. But look,
mm.
just one last thing on the game because
Yes,
I know the surf is up, and you want to get out there, wax the board, and get out there.
I'm a
Um,
surfing man.
yeah, I just wanted to quickly talk about a very interesting kind of issue that's arisen from the win against Collingwood, and that is the role of a ruckman or the ruck
Yeah,
men. Goldie was rested, as we know,
was.
and
And Draper
Draper
stepped
had
in.
one of his better games, to be fair. I think he played pretty well. But just on that point, when we play two rucks, and have played two rucks during the season, our win-loss ratio is 3-3 with a draw. So
Right.
running at about 50%. But when we play with one specialist ruckman, our win ratio is 7-2. And I think that says something. And it really raises the question now about how the team is going to be set up going forward for the rest of the season. I worry that Scott, who favours Goldstein, is going to bring him straight back into the team. I'm not sure that's what we need. But then the
Mm,
question is, we play Melbourne next week, who have a
yeah,
very, very good ruckman in Max Gawn.
yeah,
And a lot of the talk is, well, perhaps Goldstein's better suited to matching up against Gawn as opposed to Draper. So I think there's some issues there that we need to keep an eye on going
yeah.
forward.
That is a very interesting point. I didn't know that stat. I'm
Yeah,
surprised by that stat.
yeah.
Um, that is very interesting, especially when
I can
you.
see you're absolutely top riveted to your seat with
No,
excitement.
no, I am. I'm mulling on it. But then when you throw into the mix the Peter Wright factor,
Yeah,
because he supports that ruck role. I mean, you had Nick Cox as well
sure.
against Collingwood.
Yeah, Cox
Uh,
did very well in the ruck for a period of time in the
Cox was not
first.
exposed.
He wasn't. He stood tall and erect in the ruck.
He did. He
And
did.
while
So,
he wasn't penetrating, he was definitely performing a role as
okay, that'll do.
all
That'll
right.
do.
Sorry,
Don't you just always have to
I
just
love
take a
it.
little bit. You take an inch and yeah. So, but Peter Wright, he kicked two goals,
Yeah,
but I think it's fair to say there's still some major concerns there.
yeah. Look, I'd be watching out if I was Nate Caddy at training this week.
You reckon? You reckon he might?
I'd
He
be
might
watching out for
cop it.
the ranger coming at him hard at training, because I think Caddy has already demonstrated that he might be the future. No, look,
Yeah,
Peter Wright, yeah, like I'm terrified that fantastic season he had a couple of years ago is an outlier. I'm terrified by that.
yeah.
I hope that's not the case. I think we're
But
getting,
I think it is. I think we're deluded. We think
maybe.
that form is gonna come back. That Crichton Medal winning form,
Yeah,
Mayo.
yeah, yeah.
It just doesn't seem to be happening.
Look, perhaps Caddy is the solution. Perhaps Caddy will take a little heat off him and give him more space. I don't know. I mean, I think Jones has been reinvented as a
Yeah,
sort of tall, lanky, athletic wingman and has done very, very well. So I think
yeah.
they're sorting through the dynamic. We kind of still lack that really important small forward, that Tom
We
Pack,
do.
Toby Green. We say it every week. I thought Gresham was okay against the Pies, kicked a
Yeah.
goal.
Welfie did some good stuff
Well,
as
I
well.
mean, these guys are good. I'm not saying they're not, but it would be great if we had a Tom Papley in that team.
Mm.
It'd just about be the icing. I'm not saying it would be completely there, but that's the missing link.
Yeah.
Um,
Has Darren Buick had any kids?
he has, yeah. In fact, one of his boys is coming up for potential father-son selection in
Oh,
the next couple of years.
please,
Is it
please.
what's his name? Someone will know, Kobe or something like that. Go figure.
Oh, oh God,
No,
God.
it's an unusual name. It's not a strong man's name like Andrew or Michael or Jonathan.
Oh,
It's
really?
one of those
It
big
doesn't matter. No one names their kids like that these days anyway. So
Albert,
you're not going to get that.
Archibald, talking of which, Archie, this is
Mm.
the final thing, and I don't want to end on a negative, but the lad has lost his way. Could be because Caldwell Durham is dominating the midfield. He doesn't get that opportunity. He's
Yeah.
struggling a little bit as a half forward. I thought he had a really poor game against the Pies. I think it's time that Archie had a bit of a run around in the VFL team. And I would recommend that we replace him with Archie, being Archie Roberts, who I thought was very good in the game against Port Melbourne on the weekend. And
Mm.
I think Archie Roberts has shown enough to say that he deserves a debut in the AFL team. But unfortunately for Perkins, I think he needs to be given a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah, you may be right. I did spot Daniel Jan Siracusa having give him a bit of a look at halftime in the rooms, a bit of a bit of a word. But you may be right. The player I thought you were going to suggest coming in was Saad El Houli, but yeah, then I remembered he's been hanged.
He has, yeah.
He's been got.
Quality. Yeah, he lasted about half a week at the hangar.
Oh, well,
Which is not
hangar
bad. I
is,
mean, to be honest,
hangar is brutal.
Jaden Hunter lasted about 2 days. So,
Yeah,
beware the curse of the hanger if you're a mid-season draft. That's
yeah.
for sure.
Sure.
It's so cruel because those guys that get picked up in the mid-season draft are thinking, wow,
Yeah,
you would have thought I would have made it to an AFL list. And then within a week, the hanger gets them. So,
yeah. Incredible.
look, I think Roberts is the guy that should come in. I mean, Sartis had a good game in the VFL side. Hobbs was pretty average. The two
Was
Davey,
he?
yeah, Hobbsy, I don't know where he's at in his career. The two Davey boys have still got a long way to go. So I think Roberts looks like he's ready. To me, he looks like an AFL footballer, and I'd like to see
Yeah.
him given an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm all for that as well. Okay. Is there anything else that we
No,
need
not
to?
really. I think a great win. Fantastic to have that on a Friday night under the big lights at the MCG.
And more
And
Friday night games to come before the end of the year. We're getting some love from the AFL.
we
Fantastic.
are. Well, we're a high rating football team. I think the Bombers bring fans, don't
Yes.
they? And they're
They,
definitely coming out in numbers. So big game against the Demons this week. Can't rest in our laurels. We need to win that game. We've just got to keep winning, and lock away a top four position maybe.
well, I mean,
And
we've got 10 wins now, one draw, five
yeah,
losses, right? And would you
yeah.
say that 14 wins or 15 will get us to that?
I think 15 for sure. 14 might because it's close season. I think in 14 with our draw might get us to the top four, but we don't want to finish fourth if it means playing Sydney and Sydney.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Fair point.
we get the second chance, of course, being in the top four, but it'd be nice
Yeah.
to finish maybe as high as second. Who knows? Look, I'm not going to
Oh,
get ahead of us.
easy.
It's
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
no, no.
Five wins
Look,
is a
I
lot of
mean,
work.
Carlton have a pretty easy draw in the run home, so I think Carlton and Sydney have probably got the top two spots locked away. But
Yeah,
hey,
okay.
the Blues lost on the weekend. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen,
Yeah.
eh? Got
So
to
I mean, I know it's a cliche, but a week is a long time in footy.
as we saw over the last week. So
Correct.
let's leave it at that. Thank you
Pleasure.
all once again for watching. Thank you for your input there, DT.
When are you
And
back in civilization?
I am. I hope to be back in our beloved studio next week. I have missed it. Never thought I'd say that, but I've missed it.
Yeah, well, if you didn't lead a jet setter's lifestyle, it would be here for you every week. But you have to saunter off to your pad in the Gold Coast, don't you? During the
No, well,
cold of a Melbourne winter,
this,
whilst
this
we're all freezing down here, you're working on the tan.
this ain't the pad. This is the in-laws. But
Oh,
still,
of course, I mean yours is more
I'm
like Versace, Palazzo Versace, isn't it?
not quite, but I am enjoying the 18 degrees. It's a delight. All right, let's
Okay,
leave it at that. Everyone,
great
please
stuff.
comment
Thanks,
below.
guys.
We had record number of comments last week. Let's see if we can
Thank you.
break it.
Write more comments. We
Thanks for
love the
watching.
comments.
Yes. Okay.
And we will see you. And we will see you very soon.
See you very soon. Go Bombers.
Adios. Hasta la vista,
Bye.
baby.